history as a subject has a lot of weightage in UPSC Prelims examination. On an average, approximately 12 to 16 questions come from history every year. वो चाहे ancient history से हो सकता है, medieval से, modern से, या art and culture से. But in the past few attempts, a few issues which has been plaguing students is due to the non-specific and non-traditional areas into which UPSC is delving in. In such a scenario, it is very important that we strike out the micro themes from the themes of history. Now, how will micro themes help you? History itself is a very vast subject. There are multiple number of resources from which you can try to study history, but still, हमेशा कुछ ना कुछ छूट ही जाएगा. Now, if you look at the trend analysis of that scenario, आपको themes का तो पता लग जाता है. For example, Jainism and Buddhism is an often repeated theme in UPSC Prelims examination. But the kind of questions, the dimensions, the parameters which UPSC is going into in this particular theme has changed significantly over the past few years. That is what we are going to look into in this lecture. So, if we take Buddhism and Jainism as theme, and then we see the past 10 years of UPSC question, we'll see that there are total 12 questions have come from this theme in the past 10 years. So the 2013 se start kare, between 2013 to 15, it was a macro phase. Now the macro phase, I've taken it as a sub-theme. And what we have basically done here is, if you see, the question from this theme across years can be divided into particular phases. It started with the macro phase where UPSC was asking mostly about broad philosophies and locations. Now, what are these? We will see in the coming slides. Then between 2016 to 18, if you see the UPSC Prelims question paper, it delved more into the schools and sects of Jainism and Buddhism. And then 2018 onwards, there has been some sort of hybridization of the questions. By hybridization, I mean hybridization between the micro themes of schools and sects, which was appearing between 2016 to 18, and the macro phase. Now, how UPSC has changed, or how the evolution of questions has become in this particular theme, we will see, starting with the macro phase, that is 2013 to 2015. Now, if you see in 2013, the question which came on the basis of this theme of Jainism and Buddhism was, which one of the following describes best the concept of nirvana in Buddhism? Now, nirvana, if you take a standard 6th, 7th book of ancient history as well, you can see wherever the chapter of Buddhism would be there, the concept of nirvana would be mentioned. It's a very basic philosophy and concept. So it started somewhere around with a broad philosophy of nirvana. Then we move into, again in 2013, it asked about the philosophies of the basic tenets of Jainism. Then, as we move into 2015, you will find the question that was asked was, which of the following kingdoms were associated with the life of Buddha? It was a more location-specific question, but at a macro level. It didn't ask you कि कौन से जगह पे बुद्धा ने enlightenment लिया था, या कहाँ पे महापरिनिर्वाण लिया था. What it asked you was, which all sites have been associated with the life of Buddha. And there was this was same repeated in 2014 and 2015 regarding the locations associated with life of Buddha. Now, as we move into the second phase, which started 2016 onwards, UPSC delved into the schools and sects of Buddhism and Jainism, Mahayana, Hinayana. But while asking you questions on schools and sects, also there was a particular pattern which you could have noticed. So if you see in 2016, it asked you about the concept of Bodhisattva. Now it is not that easy or not that broad a concept as nirvana ki aapko har kahin pe mil jayega. It asked you 2 to 3 statements on this particular topic of Bodhisattva. Then in 2017, it asked you to identify the particular sect and schools of a religion. Now it moved into level 2, where it was not confined to the broad philosophies of the religious doctrines. Rather, it asked you to identify whom does this sect belong to, be it Swatantrika, Sammitya or Sarvastivadin. Then as you move into 2017, again, it went into Bodhisattva and asked you location. Where is the painting of Bodhisattva Padmapani found? In 2018, again, it asked you to identify a particular sect and which religion it is associated with. Now, this was the story till 2018. So, 2016, it started with the macro phase. In 2013, it started with the macro phase, asking you the general principles. Then, 2016 onwards, it moved into a bit deeper into those religious doctrines. Now, in the hybridization phase, which started somewhere around 2019 onwards, what it did was, it merged sub-theme 1 and sub-theme 2. That is, it started asking questions about schools and sects, but delved deeper into those schools and sects and asked you, say, a philosophy related to that particular school or sect, or it asked you some locations which is not associated with those schools and sects rather than associated with the broader religious doctrines. Now, if we see in 2019, so the sub-theme here or the micro-theme is schools and sects cross philosophy. So it is asking you the philosophy of Mahayana Buddhism here. It is no longer sticking to only Buddhism or only the Jain doctrine as we saw it in early parts. Next, in 2020, there was again a hybridization, schools and sects cross philosophy, where it asked you the philosophy or the basic principles behind the schools and sects of Buddhism. In 2023, it again moved ahead and it asked you about some of the locations associated with Mahasanghikas and gave you a certain fact associated with that sect. So, after doing this exercise, you are pretty much aware that where UPSC is going to ask you questions this year. So, we have prepared this chart now. If you see this, this is what basically is you have to study in the next 2-3 days. Just open your notes, whatever topic, whatever subject, whatever book you are reading, and point out or strike out these keywords wherever they are there. And especially this particular column, that is schools and sects, the associated philosophy, some associated locations with respect to those schools and sects, and some cultural elements, if it is that important. You will get to know which is important, which is, if you have heard that particular term during your entire year of preparation, you know that is very important. So, your most important revision material for this week from this particular theme is the philosophy, location and culture associated with schools and sects related to Jainism and Buddhism. That's all for now. Thank you.